I recycle corpses in Konoha Chapter 1, Rare Corpse. On the outskirts of the Kingdom of Fire, in the forest. A battle had just subsided, and the area around the open space was a little messy. A few ninjas wearing masks and umbu costumes turned and left silently. In the same place, lay a corpse that was still warm. "Xia, deal with it," the leading captain said in a low voice, passing by Uchiha Natsu. The team members passed by one, but Kakashi, who was about the same height as Uchiha Natsu, paused for a while. The eyes under the mask gave Uchiha Xia a scrutiny. Then, he turned and left silently. Uchiha Natsu sighed, raised his hand to straighten his mask, and then came to the corpse. This corpse is an S-rank rebel, one of the targets of this mission, and it took a lot of effort to deal with him just now. Of course, the process has nothing to do with Uchiha Xia. Looking at the corpse, Uchiha Xia couldn't help but think of his past. He is a time traveler, from the blue planet in another dimension. I thought that those who crossed over into the Uchiha clan would soar into the sky in the future and be extremely talented. Unexpectedly, reality slapped him hard. I entered school at the age of 5, and in the first year, I felt what it means to be a good-for-nothing. No matter what the test, he can compete with Uchiha Obito for the tail of the crane. Most of the time, Obito can't compete with him. In the eyes of outsiders, the two gradually became the shame of Uchiha. The original ambitions gradually faded away with the passage of time, and in the end only the powerlessness of fate remained. The last straw that broke the camel's back was when Natsu Uchiha's parents died in battle when he was 8 years old. What's even more outrageous, I don't know if it's because of the incompatibility of souls, or some other reason, the death of both parents failed to allow him to open the Uchiha clan's blood inheritance limit Sharingan. This also made Uchiha Xia understand how useless he really is. And a person like him who has no talent happened to be born in the war-torn era, just in time for the Third Ninja World War. If you are not careful, you will die on the battlefield. All kinds of experiences made Uchiha Xia completely wear off the edges and sharpness, and became cautious. In order to save his life, when he graduated, Uchiha Xia immediately signed up for the medical department that almost no one cares about, and was assigned to the even more unpopular corpse disposal class, planning to run away until the night of the genocide. In this way, he has been ridiculed by the tribe for several years. But Uchiha Xia didn't take these ridicules seriously. Looking at these clansmen, it was as if they saw corpses all over the place on the night of the clan extermination. After all, the winner is the one who survives to the end. A few days ago, Konoha had just experienced the Ninetales Rebellion, the village was severely damaged, and there was a severe shortage of manpower. In addition, Konoha's high-level officials strictly inspected the village and found out many criminal ninjas. This also caused many ninjas to defect. This time, because none of the Anbi squads chasing the rebellious ninja were very good at handling corpses, Uchiha Xia was temporarily transferred in and forced to act as a follow-up person. For this reason, the third Hokage also specially promoted him from genin to zongnin. After all, in name, genin cannot participate in this kind of mission. Or in my case, should I call it a special chunin? In the entire 5-member team, the captain and Kakashi are Jnin, and the other 2 members are special Jnin. Uchiha Xia is a chunin that doesn't deserve the name. Therefore, the degree of danger here can be imagined, and it is possible to lose one's life at any time. However, because he is too weak, the captain will order him to stay away during the battle, and he will be responsible for finishing after the battle is over. Withdrawing her thoughts, Uchiha Xia squatted down, preparing to use special medical ninjutsu to completely destroy the corpse. Sudden. Uchiha Natsu felt dazed for a while. When I came back to my senses, I found a building that looked like a shop appeared in my mind. With the da-da sound of typing on the keyboard, a bunch of words appeared on the shop. The host has detected a rare corpse for the first time, and the corpse recovery system has been activated. Please touch the corpse to facilitate system recovery and identification. Corpse recovery system. Is this a welfare that I'm more than 10 years late? Suddenly there was a long-lost throbbing in his heart. Uchiha Natsu stretched out his hand, and pressed the corpse's foot cautiously. Shwa! The corpse in front of him suddenly turned into dust and dissipated, and the door of the shop in his mind opened. It can be clearly seen that the corpse appeared in his mind out of thin air, and was sent into the door by a force. The door was then closed, and after a while, the sound of keyboard tapping sounded again, and the system displayed. Corpse score, 62 points, credit rating bonus points, 0 points, total score 62 points. Successfully recovered, and obtained the trade item, blood successor inspiration. Function, stimulate the blood inheritance power in the host and improve physical fitness. Please choose to collect or discard by yourself. Uchiha Natsu hesitated for a moment, and then tried to think in his mind, receive. The next moment, Uchiha Sia felt a force spreading from his body. At the same time, his eyes felt a little hot, and his vision seemed to be covered with a red film. When he came to the side of the puddle, he lowered his head and could see that his pupils had turned blood red, and there were two black jade lying next to each pupil. Double Goyu Sharingan. The system is real. Uchiha Natsu was overjoyed. Now, everything in his sight has become quite different from before, his observation ability has been greatly improved, and the amount of chakra in his body has also increased by a large margin. It is 100% sure that he has indeed awakened Sharingan. It seems that there is no unparalleled road, and Uchiha Sia has been worried for so many years. Yu reading www.yuyukeangshu.com finally has a chance to survive. Hey, let's go. After finishing the process, there are 2 more targets. A somewhat indifferent boy's voice sounded, and Kakashi did not know when he came behind him. Oh, good. Natsu Uchiha closed the Sharingan calmly, then turned and walked towards the team, thinking secretly in his heart. This system is very secretive in the mind, and the process of disposing of the corpse looks like a special decomposition technique. Therefore, even if it is seen when the corpse is recovered, it can be interpreted as a kind of ninjutsu. The corpses that were supposed to be destroyed can be recycled and traded, which is undoubtedly a timely help for Uchiha Sia, who was born in the corpse disposal class. Today, there are a total of 3 targets, 2 S ranks and 1 A rank, and the first S rank has just been solved. The remaining 2, one of them is Jonin, and the exchange items should not be worse than blood succession, and the other is special Jnin, which is not much worse after all. Uchiha Sia is now looking forward to it. Kakashi fell behind, glanced at the original position of the corpse, surprise flashed in his eyes. Then turned around and followed behind Uchiha Sia. The whole team arrived, and the captain, Jackal, just put away the map, and the 5 of them set off again. The team began to shuttle on many tree trunks, heading towards the border of the Land of Fire. The captain and 2 other team members walked in front, and the 4th was Uchiha Sia. While Kakashi was at the rear, it was also to protect him, the logistics staff. This made Uchiha Sia a little relieved. After all, the enemy likes to pick soft persimmons first. It didn't take long for the team's speed to drop. According to the predicted route, they have already approached the area that another A-level rebel must pass through to escape. I recycle corpses in Konoha Chapter 2, Giant Bear. I found it, Captain. It's at 1 o'clock, 900 meters away. The team member codenamed White Horse said. He is a ninja of the Hyuga clan, with the white eyes of Shueiji Genkai, who can observe everything within 1 kilometer around him. Hearing this, the jackal made a gesture, and the whole team immediately adjusted their direction and slowed down their steps. Uchiha Sia also mobilized his whole body strength and slowed down his pace. Before, he was very reluctant to do this, but after he was inspired, it became much easier. It didn't take long for everyone to arrive at their destination and find a good location to ambush in advance. Uchiha Sia consciously left the ambush site and ran to hide tens of meters away. Then after thinking about it, he got up and retreated more than 10 meters. After checking that there was no danger in the surrounding area, he used Earth Dungeoness heart beheading technique to drill underground, so he was relieved. This heart beheading art is a ninjutsu that Uchiha Natsu has studied and trained every day for many years, and has performed it at least 1,000 times, in order to come in handy in this situation. After all, what he had to face was a jonin, who knew how far the fight would go. He couldn't handle it as a jonin. The breeze blows the leaves and rustles them. A few leaves that were beginning to turn yellow were falling. A few seconds later, there was a stampede sound of pa, pa, from the front. A figure appeared in the depths of the jungle. Because he ran in a hurry, he didn't jump on the tree, but ran quickly on the ground. The figure gradually approached. Captain Jackal was about to make a gesture, and then he found a silver-haired figure rushing out. Rachel. Crackling blue lightning gathered in Kakashi's hands. The captain sighed secretly, seeing Kakashi rushing out. He could only follow quickly. This traitorous ninja is the same as the last one, also at S rank, and his real strength is Jonin. Although he was attacked by Kakashi and was injured, he quickly adjusted his posture to deal with it. However, he was outnumbered after all, unable to escape, and died under Lei Chia. Sharingan, Kakashi. A horrified expression was imprinted on Rebel's face, with unwillingness and remorse, and finally the body slowly collapsed, thump. When the corpse fell to the ground, Kakashi lowered his head, looking at his bright red right hand in a daze. The blood on his hand was evaporating from the lightning that had not yet dissipated. Uchiha Sia knew that the current Kakashi became like this because of the continuous blows from the deaths of his teammates and teachers. However, this has nothing to do with him, he just cleans up the corpses. The captain and 2 other team members went to study the route, and Uchiha Sia didn't get out of the soil until the rebellious ninja was completely dead. Coming to the corpse, Uchiha Sia saw that Kakashi did not intend to leave, so he simply retrieved the corpse directly under his nose. Putting his hands together, chakra passed around his hands pretendingly, and then pressed against the corpse. The corpse instantly turned into powder and dispersed in the air. Kakashi's eyes widened, and the original dead fish eyes showed an incredible look for the first time. Uchiha Sia explained casually, "It's a ninjutsu that I learned by accident, and it only works on dead corpses." At the same time, in Uchiha Sia's mind, the corpse had already been sent to the store. After a while, the system displays. Corpse score, 60 points, credit rating bonus points, 0 points, total score 60 points. The recovery was successful, and the trade item was obtained, the contracted psychic beast, giant bear, and the specific information has been sent to the host's memory. Please choose to collect or discard by yourself. Immediately afterwards, a piece of information appeared in Uchiha Sia's memory out of thin air. This giant bear is not a creature of this world, but its fighting power is very strong, and it grows very huge. Its real strength has definitely surpassed that of ordinary jounin. The key point is that this giant bear will not rebel, and even if he is asked to die, he will completely obey orders. With this giant bear, as long as it's not a fight with an elite jounin level, at least it can be 50-50 with the opponent. For him who is weak, it is a timely help. Uchiha Sia immediately chose to receive it. Afterwards, the psychic art of this giant bear was conveyed to Uchiha Sia's consciousness. There is no need to bother memorizing anymore, the psychic formula has already consolidated the impression by itself. With this giant life-saving bear, Sia Uchiha felt a little bit more secure. After the corpses were disposed of, the team set off again. After a while, they came to the border of the land of fire, and going forward, they were about to leave the border. "Captain, the target stopped less than 800 meters ahead, shall we continue to chase?" the white horse said to the jackal with its eyes wide open. "Killing him is the task." Kakashi interjected, his tone cold and chilly. Uchiha Natsu frowned. Although Uchiha Sia wanted the corpse very much, their overall strength was not reassuring. There are only 2 Chunin, and a team that doesn't even have an elite Chunin. If it encounters an ambush after going out of the country, it will be in danger. The 3 traitorous ninjas all fled with information, and Uchiha Sia would not believe that no one responded. However, as Uchiha Natsu's temporary logistic status, it is useless to speak out, so he simply kept silent. The captain glanced at Kakashi and thought for a while. A few seconds later, Jackal, the captain, made a decision: keep chasing. Amid Uchiha Natsu's concerns, the team set off again. You can't believe it even with white eyes, you can't judge many things with your eyes. Uchiha Natsu thought to himself. Turning his head, Uchiha Sia said to Kakashi, "I can't hold it anymore, go and make it easier, and I will follow in a while." After speaking, without waiting for Kakashi to respond, he left the team. Kakashi could only speed up and go to the front to explain the situation to the captain. Uchiha Sia was only there to deal with the aftermath, and it would be the same with or without him during the battle, so the captain didn't say anything. After leaving the team, Uchiha Sia opened Sharingan. Glance back and forth, not missing any detail. In the high-speed movement, even with a blank eye, there is no way to observe so carefully, so Uchiha Sia will leave the team. If he is ambushed, the others are at least special Chunin, and he is a Chunin who has just been promoted, and he will definitely suffer. It's better to be steady and act separately. Uchiha Sia was afraid that there were traps underground, so he observed carefully, and his speed slowed down. After a while, he opened a distance from the team. Not long. Suddenly there was an abnormal sound in front. Yu reading www.yuyukeangshu.com seemed to be in trouble. Uchiha Natsu quietly moved forward, looking forward through the bushes. Sure enough, the team fell into an ambush, which should be some traps arranged in advance, and several people suffered injuries of varying degrees. A 4-member team of Yunin, and that Konoha rebel, a total of 5 people surrounded Kakashi and the others. The battle had already broken out, and it was obvious that the opponents were all Chunin, so Konoha was at a disadvantage. Sure enough. Natsu Uchiha sighed secretly, then backed away quietly. He is just a weak Chunin, and it is very dangerous to participate in the battle of the Jonin, so to be on the safe side, let the giant bear charge instead of him. After retreating to a safe distance, Uchiha Sia formed a seal with both hands, and then slammed to the ground. Spiritualism. Swish swish swish. The black rune spread like a spider web, and then, a huge gray bear appeared out of thin air in front of Uchiha Sia. Go, giant bear. Natsu Uchiha pointed to the battle circle and whispered. The giant bear understood, immediately roared, and rushed out instantly. Boom! The huge bear claws stomped on the ground, trembling. The giant bear's huge body was incredibly fast, and the distance of tens of meters was shortened in 1 second, and in the next second, it slapped a cloud ninja with its paw. This cloud ninja was still attacking crazily, but before he could react, he was slapped on the back of his heart with a paw, and immediately spurted out a mouthful of old blood. He rolled his eyes and ascended to the sky in a spiral. A parabola flew more than 10 meters away, and he was hit by a blow that made him doubt his life. Even if there are medical ninjas on the scene, if they can hang their lives, they are probably worthless. But apparently, there were no medical ninjas at the scene. I recycle corpses in Konoha Chapter 3, probably still weak. Uchiha Natsu was behind, looking terrified. Sure enough, without the absolute strength to crush, you can't easily run to the waves. The giant bear is not as strong as the elite Jounin, at most a little bit stronger than the Jounin. Rounding it up, that is to say, Yunin and Dishion are about the same strength. But the giant bear was able to instantly kill Yunin with one paw. Substituting myself in, the strengths of Genin and Chunin are actually not too different. It looks like I'm so weak now, any ninja can kill me in seconds. Uchiha Natsu swallowed, thinking of facing Obito and Itachi on the night of the genocide. She didn't feel any sense of security. After all, the giant bear is only a psychic beast. If he really wants to save his life, he has to become stronger himself. Only by yourself can you live longer. The 4 Yunin Jounin are all strong men who are good at attacking. But after the giant bear appeared, they were all as small as little chickens. All of a sudden, everyone quickly dispersed. Seeing the sudden appearance of the giant bear, their hearts beat faster. What kind of bear is this? Captain Yunin stared like a copper bell. This giant bear is 10 meters high. How can a bear grow so big? On the other side, Kakashi and the others were also a little dignified. This outrageous bear, who just killed Yunin Jonin with one claw, is definitely stronger than them. Involuntarily, the eyes of both sides were on the unlucky Yunren who was not far away. It has changed beyond recognition, and it seems that it is out of breath. Seeing that there was nothing to do, Captain Yunin made a decisive decision and ordered, "Take the corpse and withdraw." Roar! At this moment, under the instigation of Uchiha Sia, the giant bear went crazy again, and at a speed that didn't match its size, it rushed to the target rebellious ninja, and slapped it down with one paw. Ah! Konoha Rebel didn't expect that he would be so unlucky, screamed, and was so frightened by the giant bear's aura that he lost control, and even failed to perform the substitute technique successfully. He is much weaker than Yun-nin, only has the strength of a special jonin, and is as thin as a bamboo pole, so he is even more irresistible. Puff. A paw was firmly slapped on the body, Ren rolled his eyes and experienced a spiral ascension. After landing, I was completely breathless. Run! Captain Yun-nin yelled frantically, regardless of the corpse, and ran away quickly by all means. Let Konoha's group of little ghosts enjoy this strange bear, no need for information. The other cloud ninjas also performed their own ninjutsu, scrambling to escape. However, when Captain Yunin, who was halfway running, turned around, he was so frightened that his heart almost jumped out. The bear didn't care about Konoha's people, and chased them directly. Don't come here. Yun-nin, who was at the end, was almost scared to pee, and tears flowed out. If you encounter a powerful ninja, you can fight with all your might. But when they encountered a monster like a giant bear that looked as ferocious as a tailed beast, especially when they slapped a jonin to death with one claw, they were already terrified, and now they just wanted to run away. After a while, the figures of the giant bear and the cloud ninja team all left the site. The white horse looked at it with supercilious eyes, and then heaved a sigh of relief. The bear has already left 1 kilometer away. Hearing what the white horse said, Uchiha Sya, who was lying in the ground, immediately lifted the psychic spell, and the giant bear who was chasing in the distance also disappeared with a cloud of smoke. After the psychic spell was lifted, Uchiha Sya felt it, and the chakra in his body was not consumed much. Speaking of which, although the Third Ninja World War has basically subsided, Konoha has shaken hands with Sha-in and Yen-in, but is still in conflict with Yun-in of the Land of Thunder. Yun-in advocates military expansion, and it will be uncomfortable if he does not provoke troubles for a day. Now, Konoha has just experienced the Ninetales Rebellion, 2 Kage-level powerhouses Sadai and Jinchuriki sacrificed, and Orochimaru defected, and all Sannin are not in Konoha, and the military strength has plummeted. Perhaps, because of the weak period of Konoha, the bison, Yun-in began to move around, and there were no major conflicts at the border, but small conflicts continued. This time, it was only the ninja on Konoha's side who defected and found someone else. In fact, Konoha himself can only be blamed. Uchiha Sya saw that there was no danger, so he got out of the ground dozens of meters away and ran over. It was the captain's order that he stayed away from the battle, so no one cared. On the ground, 2 corpses fell in 2 directions, tens of meters apart, both of which were horrible. What about Yunin's body? Uchiha Natsu asked. He looked at the corpse as if looking at a treasure. The captain hesitated for a moment, and then made a decision: destroy it together, just pretend it never happened, and let them suffer from being dumb. This was exactly what Uchiha Sya wanted, so he happily ran to the body of the traitor and recovered it. Corpse score, 50 points, credit rating bonus points, 0 points, total score, 50 points. Successful recycling, get trade items, physical enhancement. Function, to strengthen the physique to a certain extent and strengthen the chakra. Please choose to collect or discard by yourself. Receive. With a thought, Uchiha Sya felt a warm trickle pouring from the heart into the limbs, and a sense of comfort erupted in the body. The current Uchiha Sya feels that his body is full of strength, and his chakra is not the same as before. After the trickle subsided, he entered the sage mode instantly. The improvement shouldn't be very big, it still feels too weak. Uchiha Sya sighed. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.com. Afterwards, Uchiha Natsu came to Yun-nin's body and recovered it. This time, the rest of the team watched the process of disposing of the corpse, and were amazed. It's so clean it's treated like it never existed. This is the profession, we can't do this, we deserve to be from the corpse disposal class. The captain thought to himself. After the corpse dissipated, words reappeared in Uchiha Sya's mind. Corpse score, 61 points, credit rating bonus points, 0 points, total score, 61 points. Successfully recovered, and obtained the trade item, Blood Successor Inspiration. Function, stimulate the blood inheritance power in the host and improve physical fitness. Please choose to collect or discard by yourself. Receive. A familiar warm current came, wrapping his eyes. Feeling the improvement of physical fitness, Uchiha Natsu felt very refreshed, but as the warm current receded, it suddenly became dull. There is no standard to measure, and Uchiha Sya doesn't know whether he is strong or not, but he always feels that he is not much stronger than before. Many people in the clan have opened the three-hook jade, so Sharingan does not represent the real strength. Thinking so in his heart, the captain had already walked over, and suggested jokingly, "Sya, your ninjutsu in handling corpses is so superb, why don't you suggest to the third generation to stay in Umbu?" Stay in Umbu? If he is a rookie Chunin, if he stays in Umbu, his life will be in danger at all times. It is too unsafe. My strength is still too weak. I guess I won't be able to perform Umbu missions again. Uchiha Natsu waved his hand. The captain also knew that Uchiha Sya was actually just a ninja, so it was just a joke, and everyone didn't care. I recycle corpses in Konoha Chapter 4, 3 years. A few days later, the team returned to Konoha, and Uchiha Sya also had an extra S-level mission on his resume. Of course, the content of the task is confidential, and the detailed records are not on the file. Leaving Naruto's office, Natsu Uchiha returned to the Konoha Medical Department, the Corpse Disposal Department. Next, every day of work is different. The ninja war is not yet completely over, and some spies from other countries are often found, so the corpses of the enemies are often transported back. But the enemy corpses that are often obtained are genin, and there are very few zonin. The research and investigation are just a chance. If no useful information is found, they will be destroyed soon. Moreover, the ninjas sacrificed by Konoha's own family will not be destroyed, but will be buried. The corpse disposal team, counting the jonin who lead the team, has only 9 people in total. After seeing the secret technique of Uchiha Sya's handling of corpses, the jonin led the team and handed over all the enemy's corpses to Uchiha Sya for disposal. The remaining 7 people are all responsible for dealing with their own sacrificed compatriots. That is, before the burial, it is stitched up and the makeup is arranged. 2 or 3 corpses are processed every day, and after the work is completed, they return to Uchiha's new clan to learn ninjutsu using Sharingan. The life of the corpse disposal class is so unpretentious and boring. Corpse score, 20 points. Successful recycling, get trade items, physical enhancement. Corpse score, 15 points. Successful recycling, get the trade item, ninjutsu advanced. Corpse score, 19 points. Successful recycling, get trade items, chakra control increased. Corpse score, 21 points. Successful recycling, get trading items, responsibility improved. Time flies. As if in the blink of an eye, 3 years have passed since the Nine Tails Rebellion. Uchiha Sya finished handling the last corpse of the day, then walked out from the corpse room, and went to the lounge to eat bento. At this time, before the other members of the corpse disposal class came, Uchiha Sya randomly found a place to sit down and opened the lunchbox. "Sya Jun, can I sit here?" As expected, Natsu Uchiha turned his head, looked at the white-eyed girl in the same class, and nodded casually, "Yes." The girl immediately sat next to Uchiha Sya happily, and when she opened the lunchbox, her arm tentatively or unintentionally pointed towards Uchiha Sya. Uchiha Sya, on the other hand, dodged skillfully, looking round and free, very skilled. Sya Jun's side profile is so handsome, the way he sneaks away is so cute. The girl's little heart seemed to be popping out, and her cheeks were stained with a blush. The girl's name is Rina Hyuga, she is a branch member of the Hyuga clan, she has a pair of big pure white eyes. Uchiha Natsu knows about the conflict between the division of the Hyuga clan and the main family. "I can't manage the conflicts in my own family, let alone get involved in this complicated relationship, so Uchiha Natsu has always kept a safe distance from Hinata Rina." However, Rina Hyuga always approached him. "Oh." Uchiha Natsu sighed. "I don't know what's good about myself." In the original corpse disposal class, there were no girls, and girls were an absolute rare species. But many years ago, Uchiha Sia signed up for the medical department and was assigned to the corpse disposal class. The cute-looking Reina Hyuga squeezed in and became a sight in the corpse disposal class and even the entire medical department. After that, Hyuga Rina always approached him, completely ignoring the various conflicts between the Hyuga family and Uchiha. The Hyuga family also seemed to have forgotten about this clansman, completely ignoring it. As for Uchiha Natsu, he has to endure this kind of torture every day, which is simply painful. Sometimes, Uchiha Natsu would also think that as long as he is an individual, he can see that his future is worrying. After graduating for so many years, he was only temporarily promoted as a chunin, and he can be called the ninja with the weakest talent in Uchiha, so how can there be such a stupid girl relying on this? The appearance can't be eaten. Forget it. Uchiha Natsu didn't want to think too much, quickly finished the bento, bid farewell to Hinata Rina as usual, and left the lounge. After going out, Uchiha Natsu went straight west, passing through the Uchiha tribe, and came to the woods outside the village. Spiritualism. After the operation was completed, the giant bear appeared in front of Uchiha Sia with a puff of smoke. Every few days, Uchiha Sia would let the giant bear, Big Gray, come out to practice with him. Of course, Uchiha Sia's order is not to use all his strength, just control it to a level similar to his. And Dahue is also very obedient, every time he behaves weaker than him, which is very good. In fact, in the past 3 years, Uchiha Sia recovered almost 3,000 corpses. But every time I improve my strength, I feel the same as before. According to his own feeling, the past 3 years have been the same as Baigua, and now he can barely reach the level of a normal chunin. But today, Natsu Uchiha has a bold idea. I want Dahue to let go of his hands and feet a little bit, and act better than him. Dahue, let go of your hands and feet a little today, I want to test my true strength. Uchiha Sia urged. Big Hui looked puzzled, a little confused. According to Uchiha Sia's instructions, it behaved similarly to Uchiha Sia every time, but it had already used all its strength 2.5 years ago. Now it is said to let go of its hands and feet, how to let it go. Although he didn't understand, the giant bear still nodded. It can't speak, it can't communicate with thoughts, it can only obey orders. Yu reading www.yuyukeungshu.com. And just when Dehui was posing. Wait. I'll warm up. Uchiha Sia hurriedly reminded. He was a little nervous now, it was the first time he let Dahue let go of his strength, and he always felt that his small body couldn't handle it. Therefore, Uchiha Sia directly started various warm-up exercises on the spot. After half an hour, the warm-up was finally over. Come on. Dehui was bored waiting, hearing this, he immediately perked up, roared angrily, and threw his paws on it. Etc. Dahue's 10-meter-tall body slammed to a halt, and almost flinched. Dahue, you must be careful in a moment, if I get hurt, you will suffer. Uchiha Natsu said nervously. Dahue nodded quickly, thinking that every time I didn't use all my strength, the result was like being abused, and this time it was just a formality. Everything is ready, and Uchiha Sia feels that she is also well prepared. The 3 inner and outer layers of personal protective equipment have already been put on, and the body muscles are warmed up just right. So, he said seriously, come on. Dehui immediately roared again, his expression was more ferocious than before, his eyes widened, and he rushed forward aggressively. Since hard power cannot be improved, it can only make the expression look more fierce. Now, it's Actor Gray. Uchiha Sia didn't use any weapons, because it was his psychic beast after all. He and Dahue have always used hand-to-hand combat, and this time it is the same. Boom! The bare paws met the palms, and in the next second, Dahue's huge body rose into the air and circled in the sky. Then, fell heavily to the ground. I recycle corpses in Konoha Chapter 5, Guide Chunin. Boom! There was a dull impact, like an earthquake, and a huge hole was smashed into the ground. The spider web-like cracks spread outwards, looking terrifying. Feeling the pain coming from his body, Dahue couldn't help moaning. Didn't I tell you to let go of your hands and feet? Sure enough, the psychic beast can't bear to show its full strength in front of its master. Uchiha Sia sighed in disappointment, and let go of the hand that was holding the bear's claw. This guy is still the same as usual, pretending to fall, and acting like this. He was ready to use all his strength just now, but he felt that the power from Big Hui was as weak as before, so he gave up the idea of using all his strength halfway. In the end, only a little bit of chakra was used, which was less than 1,000th of the total amount, and the big gray guy acted so exaggeratedly. If you look at it from a distance, the showdown just now looks like an ant tripping an elephant, and the elephant was really tripped. Dahui was lying on the ground, and it took him a long time to recover from his exhaustion, then he struggled to get up, sticking out his tongue and showing a flattering smile. Uchiha Sia looked at the licking bear, and sighed again in his heart. I am still too weak, even after using the system to recover the corpses for 3 years, I am not much stronger than 3 years ago. In the past 3 years, the rewards obtained by recycling are all small improvements to a certain ability of oneself, and there are no external rewards such as the psychic beast Big Hui. It may also be the reason for the low scores of those corpses. Originally thought that by relying on the system, if you can reach the super shadow level, strength, at least there will be a 90% chance of saving your life in the night of the genocide. Now it seems that he is still the weak Uchiha Little Transparency. The night of genocide is less than 4 years away, so it is too dangerous. If this continues, I'm afraid my life will be lost. Life is too hard. At this moment, Uchiha Natsuko felt something, and immediately lifted the psychic spell, and the big gray disappeared. After a while, a masked Umbu ninja landed in front of Uchiha Sia. Fox face mask, Hataki Kakashi. Natsu, the 3rd generation is looking for you. Kakashi glanced at the deep pit next to him, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Okay, I'll go now. Uchiha Sia responded, and then said hesitantly, Kakashi, can you help me deal with it? In the past, he used the earth escape to smooth out the traces, but this time the 3 generations summoned him, obviously he didn't have the time. Uchiha Natsu and Kakashi are classmates, and since the last mission together, the relationship between the two has become a lot better, so they will ask Kakashi. Kakashi hummed, waved his hand, and signaled Uchiha Sia to leave with peace of mind. After Uchiha Sia left, Kakashi came to the big pit, looked at the cracks that spread tens of meters around, and murmured, such a big pit was actually made by Sia. How did this guy do it, After thinking about it, I didn't come up with any tricks, it looked like it was smashed out. This guy seems to be getting more and more mysterious. Kakashi shook his head, and began to smooth out the big pit with his earth escape. On the other side, Uchiha Natsu came to Hokage's office. Master Sandame. Natsu Uchiha knelt on one knee in the center of the house and saluted. You're here. Hirozuru Sarutobi put down his pen, and said slowly, Sia, I came here because I wanted to transfer you out of the corpse disposal class, and lead a chunin to guide fresh graduates. Natsu Uchiha raised his head and said quickly, Master Sandame, I don't think I have the ability yet. Now it happens to be a freshman graduating, Sandai's intention is obviously to let him guide chunin, but Uchiha Sia feels that he can't teach well at all. In fact, the improvement of Uchiha Sia's strength by the corpse disposal class was no pain or itching, and Uchiha Sia had already wanted to come out to take on the task. It's just that he has always felt that his strength is too low, so he should train hard first, and then apply with the 3rd generation when he really has the strength of chunin. Now, Uchiha Sia thinks that he should have the strength of chunin, and he can accept some tasks such as exterminating bandits in order to obtain a large number of corpses. However, he definitely doesn't have the ability to guide the chunin. The most important thing is that every year, outstanding graduates and relationship households will be assigned to the Jnin leaders, and those with lesser qualifications and those without any family background will be assigned to the chunin. After all, the number of hunin is limited, and there are not many left except Umbu, Root and those who are performing tasks. It can be seen that the one assigned to him is likely to be a person with average qualifications. Isn't this equivalent to dragging the oil bottle? Xia Jun, I have always noticed your efforts. Fu also told me about your living conditions, knowing that you almost forgot to sleep and eat to practice ninjutsu. In the eyes of me and Fuyu, you are a very stable ninja, so that's why I decided to let you lead the new graduates. Sarutobi Hiruzen said with sincerity. It is said that this is up, and Uchiha Sya feels that if he does not accept it, he will refute Hokage's face, and I am afraid that he will be targeted in the future. It doesn't matter whether it sounds good or not, what matters is for the stability of life in the future. So, Uchiha Sya could only nod his head and said, of order. The third generation laughed and handed a ninja file to Natsu Uchiha. It was originally planned to be led by Moonlight Hay-8, but Hay-8 is still young and has little experience. You are more mature than Hay-8. I believe you will become an outstanding ninja. The guidance of Chunin. Uchiha Sya bowed to take the file, and saw Yuzuki Shien written on the name column. Bowing out of Hokage's office and leaving Hokage building, Uchiha Natsu couldn't help but feel a little worried. As for Maue Shien, it was obvious that no one took him with him, so he stuffed it to himself casually. However, Konoha's Hinata was kidnapped just a few days ago, and Yunin Konoha signed a contract. This also means that the three wars have officially ended, and the manpower is still in a serious shortage stage. It is understandable to let him, the crane-tailed Chunin, be the guiding Chunin. Uchiha Natsu had some impression of Yuzuki Yuyen's words. Yu reading www.yuyukeungshu.com. I read the original work in my previous life, and I remember that she joined Anbi. She is very good at Konoha-ryu swordsmanship, and she is also Moonlight Hay-8's girlfriend. Can't remember the rest. Fortunately, after opening Sharingan, Uchiha Natsu learned ninjutsu at a much faster speed. The ninjutsu learned in the past 3 years has become too numerous to count. Whether he can use it or not, remember it first. Although there are not too advanced forbidden techniques, it is barely enough to guide. It's really troublesome. Uchiha Natsu put away the file, turned and walked to the ninja school beside him. Shien, you will be divided into classes by yourself in this lottery. Do you want to apply to the teacher and transfer someone from another class? Konoha Ninja School, in the 6th grade graduating class, a girl with ponytail said to Yuzuki Yuyen next to her. Her face was full of sympathy. It seems that there is still some, looking forward to it. Yuzuki Shien has long, smooth purple hair, a pair of big eyes, long eyelashes, and a small cherry mouth. His facial features are very correct, and his appearance stands out from the crowd in the class. Therefore, many boys are a little ready to move when they hear the words of the double ponytails, and want to take the initiative to be assigned to the same class as Yui Shien. But Yuzuki Shien shook her head with a smile, and said optimistically, it's fine to be alone, and you can get targeted guidance, so don't break up other people. The boys around couldn't help showing disappointment. Seeing Shien smile, the girl with 2 ponytails blushed, turned her head quickly, and said in a concealed manner, no. I don't know what kind of person our instructor is. I'm looking forward to it. At this moment, with the sound of click, the door of the classroom was opened. I recycle corpses in Konoha Chapter 6, Test. Uchiha Natsu pushed the door open, glanced at the group of boys and girls who were only a few years younger than him in the classroom, and said calmly, Yuzuki Yuyen. Yes. Yuzuki Shien quickly got up and answered. Come with me. Uchiha Natsu said lightly, then turned and left the classroom. In the classroom, the girls all kept dull expressions. Some boy said, he seems to be called Natsu Uchiha, a ninja from the Uchiha clan. What? Natsu Uchiha? Several people responded immediately, isn't he the worst ninja in the Uchiha clan? I heard that he is a medical ninja in the corpse disposal class. How could he come to be a Jonin instructor? What guides the Jnin? He is just a Chunin. I heard from my mother that he was promoted as an exception after performing a mysterious mission 3 years ago, and he has never participated in the assessment. Ah, that Shien is too pitiful. Listening to the discussions of the students around her, Yuzuki Shien couldn't help but startled. She also knows Uchiha Sya. After all, the ninjas of the Uchiha clan usually rely on their talents to be very arrogant, and their reputation in Konoha is not very good. This time it can be regarded as a person with poor talent, so people always mention this name. Not only was she assigned alone, but she was also assigned such an unbearable Chunin. She also felt that her luck was outrageous. Yuzuki Shien couldn't help but sighed softly in her heart, got up silently and walked out of the classroom. Uchiha Natsu, who was leaning against the school gate, saw Yuzuki Yuyen following, so she said, "Come with me." On the way, Yuzuki Shien hesitated for a moment, but finally mustered up the courage to ask, "Teacher, where are we going?" "Go outside the village." Uchiha Natsu said lightly, but she wondered whether Yuzuki Yuyen could be her helper. If it is really a drag bottle, it can only be thrown away as soon as possible. He was already unable to protect himself, and if he got involved more, it would delay the progress of recovering the corpse. But if it is a material that can be made, it can be kept. With someone assisting, the efficiency of completing the task of collecting corpses will also increase. Oh. Yuzuki Yugao took 2 quick steps and walked side by side with Uchiha Natsu. She turned her head and looked at Uchiha Sia, then lowered her head again, with a look of disappointment in her eyes. Uchiha Natsu glanced at it, but turned back expressionlessly. He heard all the discussions in the class before, and it was impossible to say that he didn't care. Passing through the land of the Uchiha tribe, Natsu Uchiha brought Yuzuki Yuyen to the place where he had practiced with Daihui before. On the open space, the big pit made by the big ash has been smoothed out, leaving only some traces of mud turning. Seeing this, Uchiha Sia also felt relieved. He stopped, turned around and said, "Okay, let me introduce myself, my name is Uchiha Natsu. You should have heard of this name, and it is definitely not a good rumor. But you have to remember that what you hear is not what you see, and what you see is not necessarily true. You have to judge everything by yourself. Since you belong to my team, I must understand your full strength." Saying that, Uchiha Natsu raised his right hand and formed a mark of opposition, "Use all your abilities to attack me. If I think you are unqualified, then I have the right to let you go back to the ninja school to restudy." In fact, as early as at the school gate, Uchiha Sia had already used the technique of shadow clone to separate a shadow clone. Now standing in front of Yuzuki Yuyen is the shadow clone of Uchiha Natsu, who has inherited 30% of the chakra. This is also out of caution, although Yuzuki Shien is a forebearer, there is also the possibility of killing herself. Even if the probability is 1% or 1,000th, it won't work, after all, there is only one life. Therefore, whenever there is a potential danger, Uchiha Sia will replace the main body with a shadow clone. But to deal with a ninja who just graduated, there is a high probability that the talent is still very average, and Uchiha Sia thinks that the shadow clone is enough to deal with it. When Mao Yu Shien heard these words, for some reason, a burst of anger surged in her heart. The impression Uchiha Sia gave her, as others said, has always been the tail of the crane. But her performance and grades in the class have always been at the top, and now a former crane tail tells her to repeat the ninja school, anyone will feel unbearable. Therefore, Yuzuki Shien's face was serious, and he immediately cheered up. After also forming the seal of opposition, he reached out and took out a kunai from the ninja bag. At the same time, Uchiha Natsu's main body hidden not far away also quietly opened Sharingan to carefully observe the flow of chakra in Yuzuki Yugao's body. "I'm sorry." Yuzuki Shien reminded, then mobilized the chakra in her body, and leaned forward in a blink of an eye. She wanted to see how strong this teacher Xia, who was from the corpse disposal class, was. Kunai quickly drew an arc, and due to the difference in height, he only aimed at the arm of the shadow clone. Uchiha Xia's figure flickered, and he avoided kunai for an instant, and then a blink of an eye disappeared. Maoyue Xian's eyes showed vigilance, and her hands formed seals, second body technique. In an instant, Yuzuki Xian's figure was split into 2, and she was very proficient in using the avatar technique. The 2 Yuzuki Xians moved quickly in 2 directions, and then each hid behind a bush bunker, becoming more vigilant in their hearts. Not far away, Uchiha Natsu himself, who was observing, frowned. After Yuzuki Yugao used chakra, Uchiha Xia found that the chakra flowing in her body was pitifully small, and it was roughly estimated that it was not even 1,000th of her own. "Did you keep your hands?" Uchiha Xia was a little puzzled. Sharingan can only see when chakra is mobilized from the cells. After Uchiha Xia awakened to Sharingan, he never watched the battle of other ninjas, so he never knew the total amount of chakra of ordinary ninjas. Uchiha Sia has always believed that Yu reading www.akanshu.com's own total chakra should be at the normal Chunin level. This Maue Shien still knows how to keep back, but she has a sense of stability, but in the face of a strong enemy of unknown strength, if she keeps her hand like this, she will take a big risk. Still not cautious enough. After Yuzuki Shien hid, she tried her best to calm her breathing. Just now, she used chakra to perform the clone technique in an emergency, which took a lot of energy, and now she doesn't know where Uchiha Sia has gone, so she has to be cautious. Sudden. Yuzuki Shien sensed the strange movement on the side, and quickly formed the seal immediately, using the substitution technique. The main body disappeared, leaving only a piece of wood, which was about to fall. Laugh. The ear-piercing sound of piercing the air sounded, and Uchiha Sia held kunai in his hand, and before the wood fell, he suddenly pierced it. The speed is so fast that it seems to appear there in an instant, and it is completely impossible to capture the movement with the naked eye. The use of Sanshinjutsu is very proficient, and the reaction ability is not bad. Uchiha Natsu murmured in a low voice, then stood up straight, and looked at the position where Yuzuki Yugao was hiding. Yuzuki Yuyen watched from the other side, breaking out in cold sweat. Although she knew that if she hadn't dodged, Uchiha Sia would have stopped in advance, but this speed was still too terrifying. It is easy to see her clone and entity, the attack speed is unbelievably fast, and at the same time, it can also take into account the lethality. Up to now, Yuzuki Shien feels that Uchiha Natsu is a veritable Chunin, even surpassing the level of Chunin, and it is definitely not as useless as rumors. Now that he was discovered, Yuzuki Shien thought about it, raised his hand and pulled out the samurai sword behind him. Kunai and shuriken are compulsory courses for ninjas, but what she is really good at is swordsmanship. I recycle corpses in Konoha Chapter 7, Chakra/Chatla. Yuzuki Shien has been practicing swordsmanship under the guidance of her parents since she was in school, and she is very talented in swordsmanship. Now, she wants to prove to her new teacher that she is a qualified ninja. Uchiha Sia did not continue to pursue, but turned to face Yuzuki Shien, put kunai in front of him, and waited for Yuzuki Shien's attack. After the coping ability is inspected, the offensive ability will be tested. To be honest, for a newly graduated ninja who can use the Sanshinjutsu to this extent, he can already see his usual hard work. And her talent is not too bad, plus she has a sense of caution, which is very appetizing for Uchiha Sia. Yuzuki Shien held the knife in both hands, took a deep breath, and mobilized the chakra in her body to the extreme. Then the body bent, and suddenly rushed in front of Uchiha Sia, and the blade swung out after images. Shwa, shwa, shwa. Although Yuzuki Yuyen's sword was fast, Uchiha Natsu dodged faster, and did not touch the slightest for more than 10 consecutive swords. Although Shadow Clone cannot use Sharingan, it is easy to see through this level of attack. After dodging dozens of times, Uchiha Natsu raised kunai in his hand, and also waved countless afterimages, easily blocking Yuzuki Yugao's attack. Weapons collided, sparks flew. Drip tight and hassle-free sulfuric acid. Finally, when Uchiha Natsu felt that Yugao Yuzuki had reached the limit, kunai lifted it suddenly and collided with the back of the sword. Yuzuki Shien only felt a huge force coming, and when he let go of his hand, the samurai sword was directly thrown away. With a whoosh, the samurai sword pierced through a big tree without losing momentum, and was deeply inserted into the trunk behind. The thick tree trunk was pierced through, leaving a hole. I lost, senior. Yuzuki Shien withdrew her gaze and lowered her head, the disappointment in her eyes had long since disappeared, replaced by a trace of joy. From the brief confrontation, it can be seen that Uchiha Sia is also extremely good at taijutsu, and that powerful strength and unparalleled speed are the best proof. Letting a ninja who is good at both taijutsu and ninjutsu be her instructor is exactly what Yuzuki Yuyen dreams of. Now, Yuzuki Shien's only worry is whether her performance is up to standard. If Natsu Uchiha said to let her go back to school to reread, then Yuzuki Yuyen would have no complaints at all. However, she really wanted to stay in this powerful Chunin team, and she didn't want to go back to school to restudy at all. At this moment, with a poof, under Yuzuki Yugao's gaze, Uchiha Natsu directly turned into a cloud of smoke and disappeared. This is shadow clone technique? Yuzuki Shien was extremely shocked. If the one who fought her just now was always a shadow clone, it means that teacher Xia only used half of her strength to achieve the level just now. How powerful will the body be? Yuzuki Shien couldn't help but think of what Uchiha Xia said, hearing is delusion, but seeing is not necessarily believing. Others have been rumored that Uchiha Natsu's useless remarks, looking at it now, is not only a rumor, but also a completely opposite rumor. After the shadow clone was removed, Uchiha Natsu of the main body performed the instant body technique, and instantly came to Yuzuki Yuyen. Lowering his head slightly, he looked at the girl in front of him who was a head shorter than him. The performance behind Yuzuki Shien can be said to be better than when responding to the attack, not at all like a freshman who just graduated. Especially after giving up kunai and switching to swordsmanship, the speed and responsiveness are much better than when he was in genin. If it were when he had just graduated, he might not be able to do a few tricks in the hands of Yui Shien. If she is guided in terms of swordsmanship in the future, her improvement speed will be very fast. When Uchiha Natsu looked at Yuzuki Yugao lowered her head involuntarily. At the same time, feeling a little nervous in his heart, his plain hand subconsciously clutched the corners of his clothes. It's like waiting for the judgment of fate. After a little thought, Uchiha Natsu made a decision, and smiled on his serious expression, "You are qualified." Ha! Yuzuki Shien breathed a sigh of relief, almost overflowing with joy, and her body relaxed accordingly. Afterwards, Uchiha Xia said seriously, "From today, you are a real ninja. My time is very tight, so I will guide you in practicing ninjutsu and swordsmanship while performing tasks. Also, the frequency of missions will be very high in the future, at least all missions will involve combat. You have to be mentally prepared." Yuzuki Shien's face became serious, and she immediately stood up straight, her eyes unwavering. Uchiha Xia got the answer, nodded and said, "Come to the mission center tomorrow morning. If you regret it during this period, you can tell me at any time." That being said, Yuzuki Shien basically won't go back on his word. After finishing the matter of Yuzuki Yuyen, the sun was already setting, and Uchiha Natsu returned to her home. After eating and finishing the housework, Natsu Uchiha made a shadow clone and lay on the bed, while he came to the roof, lying on the tiles side by side, holding his head in his hands and looking up at the starry sky. It's a good thing to leave the corpse disposal class. He has no access to too advanced ninjutsu, and the rewards for recovering those ordinary corpses are only to improve his physical fitness. Therefore, he has to search for those rare corpses, and there are still more than 4 years. During this period, he must become stronger than Obito, so that he can safely survive the night of genocide. Originally, in Uchiha Xia's thinking, he had to be 10 times stronger than Obito to have a 99% chance. He even killed Obito with his backhand and recovered his precious corpse. But the body recovery system is not working, and the original thinking has changed over the past 3 years. In 4 years, as long as he can be a little stronger than Obito, he doesn't expect to be able to kill him. And to do this, you must rely on the precious corpses with higher scores. Yu reading www.yuyukeungshu.com. It is impossible to do anything to Konoha Cemetery, not to mention that there are many shadows wandering around, and the risk of exposure is too great. There are also those places where great wars have taken place, but without special means, it is difficult to find the corpses in such places, and perhaps rely on pharmacists to find such people. Another method is to kill powerful ninjas and obtain corpses hardcore. But the ninjutsu he knows is too common, and the chakra is not enough. Now even if he is asked to assassinate a ninja of an enemy country, it feels dangerous. Uchiha Natsu thought of this, turned over and put his arms under his head. Suddenly, he thought of Yuzuki Shien's performance today. The chakra in her body was so pitiful that even the last violent attack did not mobilize much chakra. But when he looked at himself, chakra seemed so much, which made Uchiha Xia doubt his own chakra. Could it be that his own chakra is the same as Naruto's, but actually it's not chakra, but katana? The more I thought about it, the more I felt it was possible, but Uchiha Xia didn't try it immediately. In Konoha village, Uchiha Xia has always tried to hide his strength as much as possible, so as not to be missed by Danzo. For this reason, even Sharingan is rarely opened, and it has never been opened in front of outsiders. Only when learning ninjutsu alone, will the power of Sharingan be used. The only ninjutsu exposed to the outside is the shadow clone technique and the heart beheading technique. The plan to test your own chakra can only wait until tomorrow to go out to perform tasks. After thinking about it, sleepiness hit, Uchiha Sia got up and went back to the house. Using the technique of beheading in his heart to come to the no-door basement he built, Uchiha Natsu lay down on the bed and slowly fell asleep. I recycle corpses in Konoha Chapter 8, Sea Level Task. Early the next morning, Uchiha Sia released the shadow clone and came to the mission center. Yuzuki Yuyen had already waited in the hall in advance, and seeing Uchiha Natsu coming in, she quickly walked 2 steps to her side. The two greeted each other, and Uchiha Natsu brought Yuzuki Yuyen to the front desk. "May I ask what kind of mission you want to accept?" The staff at the front desk was a woman in her 20s with a very cold expression. But when Uchiha Sia stood in front of the stage, the staff immediately put on a bright smiling face. Seeing this, Yuzuki Shien couldn't help turning her head and looked at her teacher carefully. It seems nothing special. She is mildly face blind. Although she can recognize what everyone's face looks like, she can't tell whether a person is beautiful or ugly. Yuzuki Shien was shopping with friends once, and met a team that happened to pass by. There is one named Moonlight Gale, and others say he is not good looking, but Yuzuki Shien doesn't think so. On the contrary, those who are praised as handsome, in her eyes, are just men, nothing special. But looking at the reaction of the sister at the front desk, it seems that his teacher is very handsome. Uchiha Natsu ignored Yuzuki Yuyen's eyes and said to the staff, "Please help me find a sea-level task." Yuzuki Shien was a little surprised. She followed Uchiha Natsu to accept the first mission, and unexpectedly skipped the D-level and directly accepted the C-level. But she didn't question it aloud, and continued to stand quietly aside. In some respects, Uchiha Sia's doing this is also a recognition of Yuzuki Yuyen. Therefore, she also has a feeling of being recognized. "Okay, just a second." The staff smiled gently and pleasantly, and their tone became gentle. A leading ninja who had just finished the task saw this scene before he even walked out of the hall. Suddenly trembling with anger, this woman had a completely different attitude towards him just now, with a cold face. "Is it possible to do whatever you want because you are handsome?" With a snort, the leading ninja opened the door heavily, and left the hall with a sullen face. According to the process, Uchiha Natsu first selected a sea-level task, and then cooperated with the staff to verify the identities of the team members. When they knew that the young ninja in front of them was Natsu Uchiha, the staff was obviously taken aback. Then, he reacted quickly and said with a smile on his face, "Then let me introduce the process of this mission to you first." Originally, Yuzuki Yuyen's resume was blank, and the leader of the team was still a chunin, so she couldn't accept C-level missions. However, Uchiha Sia's resume has an S-level mission record. The content of the task is classified as confidential, and it is likely to be related to Umbu, so the staff did not have too much embarrassment. It doesn't matter if you look good or not, what matters is this S-class confidential mission. After the staff's introduction, Uchiha Sia also understood the content of this mission. In the northeast of the Land of Fire, there is a caravan traveling between various villages and towns. Just 2 days ago, the supplies of the caravan were robbed by robbers. It was originally a small business, so no security guards were invited to it, and the group of robbers were all strong men. Some young guys who escorted the caravan were not opponents at all, and the goods were looted. The mission this time is to help the caravan recover the goods and pay off the robbers by the way. The 4 robbers are ordinary people, with a little physical skills but not ninjas. Therefore, the task was classified as a sea-level task, and the reward was 40,000 taels. For robbers, this mission is just right for Uchiha Natsu. Because Yuzuki Shien has no mission experience yet, she just uses ordinary people to practice. In a few more times, Uchiha Natsu will take her to accept B-level missions. With Dahue here, I believe that even if the two of them can't beat the enemy, Dahue can solve it. In B-level missions, you may encounter chunin enemies and get a lot of chunin corpses. After introducing the task content, the staff invited the employer to the hall to meet Uchiha Sia. The employer was a middle-aged businessman with a goatee and a rather rich figure. He looked at Uchiha Natsu and Yuzuki Yuyen with a pair of triangular eyes. When he learned that it was a team led by a chunin, the businessman quickly denied it. "I want to change people, at least a 4-member team, or 2 chunin teams. These 2 ninjas can't do it." Hearing that the businessman belittled Uchiha Sia, the staff was a little unhappy, but she couldn't offend the employer, so she said calmly. "Sir, these 2 are excellent ninjas from Konoha, especially the captain, who has an S-level mission experience, and will definitely be able to complete this mission satisfactorily." He came as soon as he opened his mouth, and the staff felt a little guilty after speaking. Because of Uchiha Sia's performance, it can't be compared with excellence. Hearing that he had S-level mission experience, the businessman still wanted to refute. But he suddenly saw the round fan logo on Uchiha Natsu's clothes. People from the Uchiha clan. The businessman's heart moved, he looked away without a trace, nodded and said, "It turns out that he is a ninja who has completed the S-level mission, then I can rest assured." The mission was finally finalized, the businessman first paid the deposit to the staff, and then led Uchiha Sia's team out of the mission center. In the alley next to the mission center, there is a carriage parked. The businessman took Uchiha Natsu and Yuzuki Shien into the carriage, greeted, and the coachman drove away immediately. Uchiha Sia didn't notice the merchant's previous expression, but out of caution, he still asked the merchant for many details of what happened. The businessman answered fluently, not like making up. Uchiha Natsu seemingly casually took out a pair of sunglasses and put them on, then opened Sharingan, carefully observing the businessman's every move. Judging from every subtle movement, this businessman is indeed an ordinary person. Uchiha Sia was relieved a little, but still took advantage of the businessman's inattention, and performed the shadow clone technique and the instant body technique. Let the shadow clone stay in the carriage, while the main body teleports out of the carriage and follows behind secretly. On the way, Uchiha Natsu's shadow clone left in a car told Yuzuki Shien a lot of precautions, especially how to deal with enemies. Yuzuki Shien took it down carefully, and there was nothing unusual about the 2 of them. The road was calm, and when the sun was setting to the west, the carriage finally approached the place where the caravan was attacked. "Mr. Ninja, after the 4 robbers robbed the goods, they left along the northwest direction. I sent someone to follow them and found their den. At that time, you must not let those robbers go, otherwise they will definitely retaliate in the future mine." Inside the carriage, the merchant said with a worried expression. Uchiha Sia nodded, "Don't worry, those robbers are just ordinary people, and we are ninjas. You just need to stay away when the time comes." The merchant's expression relaxed a little. Not long after, the carriage stopped, and the driver turned his head and said to the inside of the carriage, "Boss, the robber's den is just ahead." Hearing this, the businessman's expression lifted, and he glanced at the round fan sign seemingly indistinctly. Then he said to Uchiha Sia, "Mr. Ninja, there is a robber's den in front of us. If the carriage moves forward, we will be found. Let's get off and walk." I recycle corpses in Konoha Chapter 9, Encounter. Uchiha Natsu thought for a while, and got out of the car with Yuzuki Yuyen. The 3 of them walked forward, with Uchiha Sia's shadow clone walking in the middle. In this way, 2 people can be protected at the same time to avoid accidents. At this time, Natsu Uchiha, who was secretly following behind, also opened Sharingan again to check the situation ahead. In the northern part of the Land of Fire, in the forest, 3 burly men sat around under a tree. "Captain, wouldn't it be good for us to do this, in case it ruins Raikage-sama's plan?" One of the youths, looking at the most burly captain, couldn't help but say. The captain's body was thicker than the others, and his exposed muscles seemed to be full of explosive power. Hearing this, his face immediately darkened. "Dorui, are you questioning my decision?" "Don't dare." The man named Dorui waved his hand quickly. Their captain is one of the young geniuses of the Yayue clan in Yunin village. At only 18 years old, he is already quite experienced leading a jonin, and has a high status in Yunin village. And he himself is just a chunin, and he is not qualified to dictate to such a captain. Captain Yuichi snorted coldly, and said, 3 years ago, my brother was killed by those guys from Konoha Anbi. I always remember this grudge. This time, Reikage-sama arranged for so many people to sneak into the land of fire, and they were well prepared. Who knew that Hokage actually sent Patriarch Hyuga's body here? Thinking of this, Yuichi was furious. The plan discussed by the senior management of Yunin village was originally to let the ninja who went to negotiate abduct the children of the Hyuga clan, so as to get supercilious. Prior to this, they had already deployed a lot of cloud ninja troops in advance in the territory of the country of fire. As soon as they succeed, these hidden ninjas will appear to stop Konoha's people and cover the ninjas to retreat. But unexpectedly, Shinobu was found and killed on the spot. Therefore, the high-level officials could only temporarily change the plan and ask Konoha to hand over the body of the Patriarch Hyuga, otherwise war would be declared. If it was their Yunin village, it would be impossible to agree to this condition even if they were killed, and Reikage did not think that Konoha would agree to this condition. Therefore, Yunin contacted Yen-in and Sha-in in advance. Taking advantage of the hidden forces that have been secretly infiltrated in the Kingdom of Fire, they plan to use Konoha's refusal to negotiate as an excuse to start a war. This plan has been in the works since the genius of the Yayue clan was killed 3 years ago. But unexpectedly, Hokage agreed. They really handed over the body of the Hinata Patriarch. Yunin lost the reason to attack, but had no choice but to give the order to evacuate. After all, with so many ninja powers, they can't leave the village for too long. Now, Yunin's ninjas hiding in various parts of the fire country have begun to evacuate one after another. However, Yuichi's great revenge was not avenged, so he couldn't swallow this breath at all. Before leaving, he said he would kill a group of Konoha ninjas. Yuichi said in a deep voice, 3 years ago, my elder brother was just promoted to Jonin, and followed the Jonin team to perform a top-secret mission for the first time. Unexpectedly, he was framed by the Umbu team including Sharingan Kakashi, and died tragically in the border of the Land of Fire. Afterwards, the village sent spies hidden in Konoha to investigate secretly, but they did not find any trace of the body of the elder brother. It seemed as if he had evaporated out of thin air, and there was no trace of the place where the battle took place. But I know that Konoha must have taken my elder brother's body away. That is, they did it too covertly, otherwise they would have officially declared war 3 years ago to avenge my elder brother. The more Yuichi spoke, the more angry she became, her teeth chattering. The other members of the team were silent, and Yunin was really uncomfortable these few times. It was like punch after punch, hitting the cotton. It's understandable for the captain to be so angry. Captain, the businessmen brought people here, there are only 2 people, and the guards are Konoha ninjas. At this moment, another team member sitting on the trunk whispered a reminder. 2. Why are there only 2? Yuichi frowned, and then immediately said, hidden first. Swish swish swish. The 4 performed ninjutsu one after another, hiding under the bunker prepared in advance. Each person is responsible for one direction, forming a 4-corner encirclement. The air fell into silence, and not long after, footsteps sounded, from far to near. Halfway through Uchiha Sya's shadow clone, he suddenly noticed something. It is the signal sent by the ontology to him. Although the shadow clone cannot use Sharingan, but through the reminder of the main body, it can also be known that there must be an ambush. The shadow clone leaned forward slightly, while the back half of his body was in front of Yuzuki Shien, and his left hand clenched the samurai sword at his waist. The samurai sword was specially prepared by Uchiha Natsu to teach Yuzuki Shien to train swordsmanship. Yuzuki Shien noticed it immediately, knowing that the teacher was reminding her of something abnormal, so she also became vigilant. But the businessman still walked on his own as if he didn't know anything. Sudden. The shadow clone paused. The vigilance in Mao Yushien's heart was raised to the extreme, but the businessman was shocked. This expression was accurately captured by the shadow clone, and it was instantly clear in his heart. The businessman had been acting before. But at this moment, a sharp piercing sound sounded. A short knife turned into a black line, stabbing suddenly from behind the shadow clone. Call out. The shadow clone instantly lowered its head, dodged the short knife attack at an extremely fast speed, and then suddenly pulled out the samurai sword at its waist. At the same time, the merchants also knew that they were already within the range of the ambush, so they ran away. The Yunin ninjas in the four corners also emerged from the bunker and surrounded Uchiha Xiao. Puff! However, before Yun Ninja launched an attack, the merchant's neck was pierced by kunai. A smear of bright red splashed for several meters. Staggering a few steps, the businessman's eyes were filled with horror and bewilderment. According to several cloud ninjas, they can protect their own safety. But the truth is, he lost his life. Unwilling and remorseful, the businessman was carried forward by the inertia of rushing forward, and fell forward to the ground. Make a plop sound. The four cloud ninjas also froze for a moment. They didn't expect that this Konoha ninja had such a fast reaction ability. Due to financial reasons, they can only allow merchants to issue sea-level tasks. Therefore, it is definitely not a strong team to carry out the task. However, this kunai throw made them feel that this leading ninja was not mediocre. However, this is nothing in Yi Yuechi's eyes. "Huh, little people of Konoha, you are unlucky to meet me." Yueki ignored the businessman and laughed ferociously. As soon as he saw the Konoha forehead guard, the anger in his heart couldn't stop rushing up. "Captain, be careful, he is from the Uchiha clan." At this moment, a team member noticed the Uchiha fan on Natsu's clothes and reminded him. Yi Yuechi saw that it was indeed the fan of the Uchiha clan, and he couldn't help but feel ecstatic. Uchiha is a wealthy family of Konoha, and he is also talented in Shueiji Sharingan. If you kill this person, you can avenge his brother, and if you are lucky, you can bring back a pair of Sharingan for Yunin. Yunin village, who didn't get Bai Yen, got Sharingan because of him, and the family will definitely reward him extra. Not only revenge, but also meritorious service, it is a double happiness. I recycle corpses in Konoha Chapter 10, Shadow Clone. Not far away, Uchiha Natsu opened Sharingan and carefully observed the bodies of the four robbers. These four people are obviously ninjas, but none of them are wearing forehead protection, so their identities are unknown. However, those who can turn grass into bandits and want to assassinate Konoha ninja are likely to be traitors. Seeing the chakra flowing in the bodies of the four, Uchiha Xiao was a little relieved. None of these four people have a lot of chakra, and the sum of all of them is less than 1% of their own. But only looking at the amount of chakra is not enough to judge the real strength, so we still have to be cautious. Use a shadow clone. Uchiha Natsu murmured, and then formed seals with both hands. Using the shadow avatar is just a good way to test how much your own chakra is and to what extent you can do it. Shadow clone technique. With the sound of swish swish, shadow clones formed around Uchiha Xiao, more and more, more and more. To be on the safe side, Uchiha Xiao kept half of the chakra in his body, and the remaining half split infinitely. According to Uchiha Xiao's thinking, each shadow clone has a minimum lower limit of chakra, and if it is too low, the shadow clone will not be able to maintain it. As long as the lower limit for maintaining the shadow clone is reached, and finally look at how many shadow clones have been separated in total, you can judge how much chakra you have. However, this method requires ultra-precise control of chakra. Ordinary people can only divide chakra equally with the shadow clone. Too many divisions will endanger life. In the 3 years since Uchiha Xiao recovered the corpse, he has improved his chakra control ability hundreds of times, so he can achieve this level. But the final result left Uchiha Natsu dumbfounded. This half of the chakra seems to be endless. The chakra in the body of each shadow clone continued to reduce and split until more than 1,000 were separated, but it still did not reach the limit. The remaining chakra was enough to maintain the normal action of the shadow clone. Natsu Uchiha stopped performing ninjutsu, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Sure enough, his feeling was correct, it wasn't that Yuzuki Shien had too little chakra, but that he had too much chakra in his body. Ridiculously many. To perform a shadow clone, not only the chakra that maintains the body to perform ninjutsu, but even the clothing decorations and ninja tools used by the shadow clone are all copied with chakra. Therefore, the consumption of the shadow clone is very large. The dense shadow clones looked at each other, and all of them showed expressions similar to the main body. This shadow clone alone is enough to form a ninja army. And the 4 robbers, who were surrounded by the shadow clones, looked at the shadow clones around them, and couldn't help but feel terrified. Yuzuki Shien, who was staying next to the first shadow clone, also looked around dumbfoundedly, and then at the teacher next to her. She opened her mouth, but couldn't speak. When the surrounding teachers appeared, the teachers beside them did not have seals, that is to say, this teacher was also a shadow clone. Yuzuki Shien was a little messy. Is this a shadow clone? Yayue-chi, who was tall and strong, looked around at the countless Konoha ninjas with the same appearance, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Captain, this guy must be Konoha's elite jonin, that businessman wants to kill us. Dorui's face was terrified, and his hand holding the long knife was shaking. Damn it, the 2 people in the middle haven't formed seals, so they must be shadow clones. Leave them alone and break out from one direction with all your strength. Yayue-chi was not a fool either. After judging his situation, he immediately issued an order. However, Uchiha Sia will not give them a chance. The first shadow clone grabbed Yuzuki Shien's arm, and then performed Earth Escape Ninjutsu, and instantly sneaked Yuzuki Shien into the ground, away from the center of the battle. All the other shadow clones drew out the samurai swords condensed by chakra on their backs at the same time. Uchiha Sia can only use Earth Dungeon and Fire Dungeon now. If you use these 2 kinds of ninjutsu, if you don't pay attention, you may even blow up the corpse. Therefore, it was decided to use swordsmanship. The sounds of thousands of long knives coming out of their scabbards gathered together, and the momentum was quite frightening. The 4 robbers immediately gathered together, and then found a direction, and performed thunder escape ninjutsu one after another, intending to forcefully break through the encirclement. Captain Yayue-chi rushed to the front, thunder and lightning surged from his body, and he yelled, "Thunder escape, thunder torture." Just halfway through speaking, Yayue-chi only felt a huge force coming from under his feet. Before he had time to react, Yayue-chi suddenly leaned forward and slapped his face the ground. With a boom, the thunder and lightning on his body also went silent. The same goes for the other 3, all of whom had a close contact with the ground. The source of the strength is the shadow clone who sneaked into the ground with the heart beheading technique, ambushed halfway, and reached out to grab a few people's ankles when they passed by. Yayue-chi was originally known for his strength, but the strength in the hands of the shadow clone was actually a little stronger than him. If it was an ordinary ninja, he would definitely not be able to stop him with the technique of beheading in his heart, but this time he was careless. In fact, this is the result of a large number of chakra scattered, weakening the power of the shadow clone. If it was replaced by Uchiha Natsu's body, reading www.yuyukeangshu.com probably wouldn't be as easy as stumbling. With such great power, is this the main body? Yayue-chi turned over abruptly, then grinned grinningly, and suddenly raised the hand knife filled with lightning. As long as the main body is killed, the shadow clone will naturally be destroyed by itself. The shadow clone holding Yayue-chi's ankle suddenly raised his hand, blocking Yayue-chi's leg in front of him. Yueki's movements didn't stop at all, and his expression became more ferocious. Thunderstorm level. Crackling. The lightning flashed, and Yayue-chi's hand knife slashed across his thigh, and slashed directly at the head of the shadow clone. Ha ha ha, go to hell. Blood splattered everywhere. Even though there was severe pain in his leg, Yayue-chi didn't seem to notice it. If such a good opportunity is not seized, then these shadow clones may kill them. In contrast, losing a leg is nothing. Besides, there is still the possibility of continuation after it is cut off. However, the next moment, Yayue-chi's smile froze completely. The main body that grabbed his ankle turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared. Shadow clone, how is that possible? Yayue-chi seemed to be in a daze. He trembled all over, as if he fully understood that what they were facing might not be as simple as the elite jonin. The greater the number of shadow clones, the stronger the weakening. And the shadow clone that has been weakened thousands of times can still have such a huge power. I am afraid that only Konoha Sannin, or even a powerhouse at Kage's level, can do it. A ninja of this level appeared in Konoha again. Go to hell. An indifferent voice sounded, and with several crackling sounds, hundreds of shadow clones surrounded the four of them.